Giant armoured lizards and prehistoric beasts that will blow your mind. Here are 10 of the most dangerous dinosaurs that ever walked the earth. Number 10. Allosaurus. The Allosaurus is one of the older dinosaurs from the long time period when giant lizards ruled the earth, living about 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic Period, almost 70 million years before the T-Rex made its first appearance. That's right, this monster was actually twice as old as the Tyrannosaurus Rex, and may have been an ancestor of that powerful beast. Most of the fossils of the Allosaurus were found in the United States, in a quarry in Utah, and at a different quarry in Colorado. This monster stood 30 feet in length, with half of its body consisting of its ridiculously long tail. It had strong limbs, small forelimbs that were basically useless, but not quite as useless as those of the T-Rex, and, like almost every other lizard dinosaur of the time, 3 fingers that each ended in a sharp claw, which the Allosaurus probably used to tear at the prey. What's really interesting is that the Allosaurus is one of the biggest scavengers of all time. It almost only ate living animals if it could easily trap and kill them. Otherwise, the Allosaurus would spend its time feeding on the carcasses of other animals. Still, that doesn't mean it wasn't dangerous. If you ever tried to fight this fearsome predator, it would literally snap you with its tail and probably break your spine. Number 9. Ankylosaurus. The Ankylosaurus is a general favourite of a lot of different humans. You will definitely recognise this dinosaur by the huge club that it had for a tail. It had a giant sledgehammer that it could swing around at will, and it even had a helmet of bone and a full suit of armour. The largest Ankylosaurus specimen ever discovered measured 20.5 feet in length, according to a recent study published in the Canadian Journal of Earth Sciences. Most experts agree it weighed at least 4 tons. Unlike the lizard dinosaurs that feasted on flesh and blood, the Ankylosaurus was pretty docile. Instead of being geared towards killing, it had evolved to defend itself. This is why the top of the dinosaur was nearly completely blanketed with a thick armour of knobs and oval plates of bone. These are the same types of plated bone found on crocodiles, other modern lizards, and even armadillos. The bones form within the skin, creating the ultimate defense against predators with sharp teeth. As for the true danger of the Ankylosaurus, it's all about the tail. A typical Ankylosaurus tail measured around 10 feet long and could be used to literally smash the shins of any predator dumb enough to get close. Considering how big this monster was and how small humans are, getting hit by this club would be similar to being kicked in the chest by a horse. Dinosaurs evolved to have all sorts of strange weapons built into their bodies. Number 8. Spinosaurus. The Spinosaurus is recognised as the largest carnivorous dinosaur that's ever lived on our planet. You're going to drop your jaw when you hear how large this dinosaur was. It's almost hard to comprehend. The Spinosaurus stood at 52.5 feet tall, and it was as heavy as a herd of adult Asian elephants. Plus, the Spinosaurus had a gigantic sail of skin on its back that was supported by 2 long spines, making it a truly magnificent beast to behold. But what's really fascinating about the Spinosaurus is that new evidence suggests it spent as much time in the water as it did on land. It could eat fish and fight sharks, then go back on land and fight a T-Rex. It was truly the ultimate apex predator. The Spinosaurus was more ferocious than any other dinosaur, it was more versatile than any other land carnivore, and it was larger than anything we've seen since. Strong, fast, with huge claws and sharp teeth. Plus, it taught itself how to swim. It even had special structures inside of its snout that allowed it to detect pressure waves made by other animals moving nearby in the water. That's like having a sonar system built into your nose. Have you ever seen a skeleton of a dinosaur? Or a fossil? Tell us about it in the comments below. And if you're new here, welcome, and be sure to subscribe to Epic Wildlife for more amazing videos just like this one. Number 7. Utahraptor. The Utahraptor was a close cousin of the famous Velociraptor, which you met in the original Jurassic Park movie. But it's actually much larger and more dangerous than its cousin. The mighty Utahraptor had claws that were 12 inches long and shaped like sickles found on each hind foot. It used its claws to rip and tear while basically kicking its prey until they died. It had super thick leg bones and strong muscles, and these were used for repeatedly driving its steak knife claws into its prey. Many scientists believe that the Utahraptor hunted in packs, like the most horrifying wolves you've ever seen. They likely targeted prey much larger than themselves, hunting down anything they could eat. The Utahraptor was on average about 10 feet tall and weighed 1,000 pounds. Plus, they kind of looked like birds. The Utahraptor was a deadly combination of a Velociraptor and an ostrich. Number 6. Tyrannosaurus Rex. It's time to talk about the king of the dinosaurs. The Tyrannosaurus Rex really needs no introduction. It has a legendary reputation as the ruler of the prehistoric carnivores. It was one of the biggest dinosaurs to ever roam the earth, and its name literally translates to Tyrant Lizard King. According to Live Science, this beast stood over 16 feet tall and was about 40 feet long from snout to tail. It weighed roughly 15,400 pounds and was once believed to be the biggest carnivore in history. We know that not to be true anymore, but the T-Rex is still a special place in our hearts. The Tyrannosaurus Rex had powerful hind legs, it could run faster than any professional athlete, and it had a brain that would rival any animal currently living. This means that not only was it a ferocious predator, but it also had the intellectual prowess to match just about anyone you went to high school with. Of course, there were smaller dinosaurs that could outsmart it, but it was still the ultimate beast of its time. It had a great sense of smell, a bite which was stronger than any animal that has lived since, and it had 60 teeth for ripping and tearing. When it came to hunting, the Tyrannosaurus Rex only needed to bite once. Number 5. Troodon. Compared to many of the dinosaurs scientists discussed today, the Troodon is one of the smallest. It stood only 4.3 feet tall and weighed less than 100 pounds. Still, it was a dangerous predator that you would not want to have met in the wild. It didn't have much strength, but it had a massively complex brain. In fact, the Troodon had the most impressive brain-to-body weight ratio of any dinosaur currently known to scientists. To get a little more complicated, the Troodon had more neural cells packed into specific areas of its brain than other dinosaurs, meaning that its brain functioned more efficiently. Other than just being insanely smart compared to its competition, the Troodon had super strong vision. It had huge eyes, like big black orbs that gave it superb sight. It could see in darkness and hunt nocturnally, and it was very light on its feet. A pack of Troodon would have been far deadlier than any pack of animals living today. They would have easily gotten out of the way of any large predators while tracking and killing things much larger than themselves. A small village of humans would be easy pickings. Number 4. Gigantosaurus. The Gigantosaurus was quite similar to the T-Rex, and yet hugely different in many ways. It definitely competed to be one of the biggest carnivorous dinosaurs of all time. According to the Natural History Museum, it was taller, longer, and thinner than the Tyrannosaurus Rex. The Gigantosaurus was also faster by at least 10 miles per hour. It had better balance, its skull was larger and probably thicker, and yet it had a puny brain. The Gigantosaurus had a brain that was just half the size of that of the T-Rex. This makes it a pretty primitive beast that was more brawn than brain. Still, some scientific evidence suggests that it had a very acute sense of smell, which, when coupled with its athletic abilities, made it a formidable force of teeth and claw that weighed at least 8 tons. Unfortunately, the Gigantosaurus and the Tyrannosaurus Rex never met in the wild. The Gigantosaurus lived between 112 and 90 million years ago, missing the T-Rex by just around 7 million years. Number 3. Carcharodontosaurus. Besides just having a strange and unique name, the Carcharodontosaurus was a huge monster to be feared. According to Enchanted Learning, this dinosaur lived somewhere between 110 and 90 million years ago, with most of its fossils being found in North Africa. It was a fierce predator that had a bulky body, ridiculously heavy bones, and short arms with only 3 fingers and a few sharp claws on each hand. And even though the Carcharodontosaurus was larger than the legendary T-Rex, it was a bit more primitive and had a smaller brain. That means that if these two had ever met in combat, the T-Rex could very well have won in a fight. To give you an idea of just how large this beast was, its skull was about the size of an average person. It could run at around 20 miles per hour, much faster than a T-Rex. Plus, the big dino got its annoyingly long name because it translates to shark-toothed lizard, which makes sense considering the serrated teeth inside the Carcharodontosaurus's mouth were about 8 inches long and could slice through flesh like perfectly sharpened switchblades. Number 2. Deinonychus. The Deinonychus, also known as the Terrible Claw, is certainly one of the strangest dinosaurs on the list today. It was the very first dinosaur that convinced scientists that modern birds descended from dinosaurs. This happened in the early 1970s when an American paleontologist named John H. Ostrom noticed how similar the Deinonychus looked to birds. Other paleontologists laughed at him, and the scientific community thought this guy was a joke. Turns out, he was 100% right, and now it appears that chickens are the closest relatives to the Tyrannosaurus Rexes. How messed up is that? As for the Deinonychus itself, it was almost definitely covered with feathers. In fact, it's highly likely that the Tyrannosaurus and almost every other type of raptor had feathers at some point in their life. And much like raptors, the Deinonychus had hind claws that it used to disembowel and rip apart prey. But here's the coolest and least known fact. This dinosaur was the original model for the Velociraptors used in Jurassic Park. As you may already know, Velociraptors are actually quite small. For the Jurassic Park movie, they based their raptors on the Deinonychus. They took away the feathers and changed the name to Velociraptor because they assumed that audiences would have too hard a time of pronouncing Deinonychus. Let this be a lesson to you that you shouldn't just trust things you see, especially in a blockbuster movie. Number 1. Velociraptor. You already know a little bit about the Velociraptor's cousin, the Utahraptor, but it's now time to dig deep on one of the most beloved dinosaurs ever. The Velociraptor lived sometime around 80 million years ago, near the end of the Cretaceous period. It actually got its name in 1924 from the president of the American Museum of Natural History, who combined two Latin words meaning swift and robber to give a proper description of just what this dinosaur was like in real life. Basically, it was a speedy thief. The Velociraptor was probably covered in feathers, as indicated by a forearm discovered in Mongolia back in 2007. But of course, the Velociraptor couldn't fly. It instead used its immense speed and insanely sharp claws, plus its advanced intelligence, to hunt and scavenge. They mostly ate reptiles and amphibians, small dinosaurs, and other bite-sized mammals. If Velociraptors were still alive today, they wouldn't actually be that scary. They only had a length of 6.8 feet, meaning that they didn't actually stand that tall. Most average people would be taller than a Velociraptor. Still, considering scientists agree that the Velociraptor could have run at around 40 miles per hour, it probably wouldn't have mattered whether you were bigger than it or not. It still would have hunted and eaten you with dozens of its friends. Which dangerous dinosaur is your favourite? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe for all the best videos, and come back soon for more.